Thank you for coming, everybody. Welcome to our, I think, third annual, now annual Artistpreneur Panel. We are absolutely thrilled to have such a full and wonderful panel of alumni who are going to share their stories, their experiences while an undergraduate, and then telling you a little bit about how they launched their now very successful careers. My name is Wendy Morrisoff. I'm the director of the Career Development Center. For those of you who have not met me before, met my team, we're all going to be asking questions of the panel, and they'll be sharing their experiences. Just a couple of announcements, a couple of things that you may or may not know. The Career Development Center, how many people who have actually used something from the Career Development Center, or maybe you came and you visited? Raise your hand. Wonderful. I actually see some classes who I know that have come, or we've gone to classes, and we welcome students, we welcome artists. We have resources and services and opportunities for artists as well. So we know it's hard to get out of the classroom, we know it's hard to leave, and as all of our wonderful alumni will attest to, it's challenging because you have a very challenging academic program, and your training leaves you little room to get out there and come to some of these events, but we're thrilled that we partner with the School of the Arts to allow these kinds of events to happen and have that kind of enthusiasm, which is a really wonderful thing. So if you haven't utilized anything from career development, we're over in the Student Services Building. We're on the second floor. We have a wonderful team of career counselors and coaches. We help students with resume, learning about self-branding, how to write an artist statement, how to get into graduate school. We just produced several hundred copies of this new guide with sample resumes for all artists, both visual and performing artists. So you can sort of look at your resume and look at how you can adjust. You can have your general resume, you can also have, certainly you have your performance or your visual arts resume, and a lot of new ideas and things that can help you support your searches no matter what they happen to be. So without further ado, you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from these guys. So I am going to introduce them, and they are going to tell their story. I'm going to ask the initial question, and then my staff is going to jump in and ask follow-up questions. Then we will open it up to the audience, and everybody can ask a little bit more. Okay? So, without further ado, let me just generally introduce. We have Kara Cox, who is a visual artist and painter. We have Allison Duggan, who is a musician, and she has founded 668 Records. Jean Marie Garofalo, who's an opera singer and a musical theater performer, and also works at the college, but that's the secondary. Sidra Bell, who's with Sidra Bell Dance, New York. Adrienne Letachapia, sorry. Designer, creative director with Rourke, his design firm. Santino Lowe, creative producer, Mad Art Creative, and finally Chris Graves, who's a photographer and director, and he had a really long title. We had to shorten it significantly, so they're going to talk about their work. But we're going to start with the newest graduate, and that's Kara Cox, who is a painter. Okay. My first question, actually, is, sorry, and this Kara's going to share, but we're going to just go along to answer the first question. So generally, how did you get started, and what did you do before graduation that helped begin to launch your career?
Well, can you hear me? Is this loud?
Can you hear?
Okay. Well, when I was a student at Purchase, I had already spent about 4 years just with getting my associate's degree at community college. So when I got to Purchase, I was really hell-bent on figuring out what I was going to do with my degree. And so when I got here, I thought it would be really important to try out different options. So I started interning at different places, and it made sense that I wanted to be an artist, so I should intern for an artist. And working closely with artists and in a gallery, I interned as just like a regular summer intern. at a gallery. It helped me figure out like the operations of a place that I wanted to showcase work at, and also working for artists helped me understand like how to get there. And so both of those positions really helped me understand what it meant to operate as an artist in the real world. And I also did very community-based things while I was at Purchase. I curated shows that involved collaboration. It was really important for me that people could come together and work together in all different mediums, and a way to reach out for other people, including myself, within the community. Yeah, so I think I just spent a lot of time doing unpaid internships, which sounds really bizarre, but it actually allowed me while I was in school to do highly paid job positions, because it gave me the ability to learn new things that I otherwise would not be paid to do. So it allowed me to do installation positions that paid really well, and I could just do that for the entire month and then be like set financially. So financial stability was actually really important while I was in school, and it was like the most effective way to do it was to work for a high-paying job for like 1 week and then have enough time in my studio. So learning how to balance my studio and work while I was at school was also very important.
We could do the applause after that.
Okay, I think I'm close enough.
Kind of like the debates, you know, you gotta hold her to do. Sorry.
Yeah, hard to tell here. All right, so everyone can hear me? Okay. I actually started out at Syracuse University as a composition major. I found myself really loving jazz, writing for pop, writing for film, and unfortunately I wasn't finding those assets at Syracuse for me. I came into Purchase as an arts management major, hoping to gain more knowledge in the business aspect, how to really build myself as an artist, and also know how to promote myself, make enough money, read contracts, everything that every artist should know and needs to know. While I was at Purchase, I studied composition with different teachers. I would honestly go to different teachers' offices and talk to them and pick their brains, and would really get any input as much as possible. While I was here also, I was a part of South Bay Cabaret. I don't know if that's still running anymore, but it was a cabaret that included all different types of art forms, and it had a theme. So I was in production for a couple of seasons, a couple of shows, helped with the 27 Club, which was a show that was based off of all the artists that passed away at 27 years old, which was right after Amy Winehouse passed away. So I was really passionate about that, and got really passionate with social media and marketing. So that's where I really got my feet wet with that and helped out with that. I did some marketing and social media for different artists. I also interned for free, did 3 internships at Big Yellow Duck, which is a post-production company for sound. I also Northern Lights Post, another one for sound design and composition. And I also dabbled with Broadway. I interned with Ken Davenport, and it was a really interesting experience. I really loved it. But it really made me center to know that I really want to stick with film and writing, doing songwriting. And at the same time, really wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do besides marketing for myself after I graduated. So really immersing myself with different clubs and different programs and different projects really got my feet wet in all forms of the arts. So it was a really awesome experience. Great, thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Jean Marie. I just wanted to get a sense, is there any vocal performance majors in the audience? No? Yes? Raise your hand, don't be shy. No? Any musicians in general? Yay!
They just don't want to think anything.
I went to Purchase and graduated from the Local Performance Conservatory in 2008. And I pretty much knew on the onset of going to Purchase that I wanted to be an opera singer. And I was really attracted to this school because of the reputation that the faculty had and the close proximity to New York. So to me, it was an obvious choice to come here. And I studied with Sherry Overholt, who was my voice teacher and is still my voice teacher to the present day, and she's more than a voice teacher. She's a mentor, she's a friend, she can pretty much solve any problem, whether it be vocal technique or personal. So I guess advice that I have to give you is definitely find that person in your life that can be that person for you, because not only can they teach you technique, but they can also serve much more than that, and they'll be like your lifelong friend. So that's one thing I have to share about that. So while I was at Purchase, I did a lot of the operas that were put on, a lot of the concerts, and then my junior year is when I started to really focus on trying to gain more exposure outside of the college environment. So I auditioned for programs in Europe, and I actually went to Germany. It was the first time I'd ever gone to Europe my junior year, heading into my senior year. And that was a really cool experience because I got to learn about a new culture, I got to speak the German language, performing concerts there, so that was really cool. And then my senior year, I starred in the production The Tempest as the female lead Ariel. And that was really cool because that was the East Coast premiere of The Tempest. So the composer Lee Hoybe came to the college and got to meet everybody that put the production on. So you got to meet like a real live composer. So that was really cool. And then I auditioned for a competition the end of my senior year. And that was really like what launched my career. It was the Jenny Lind competition. It was specifically for sopranos, and basically I was able to gain a lot of exposure there, and I performed a lot in Connecticut, did a bunch of concerts and went on tour in Sweden, and from there just everything took off. Really great experience going to Purchase. You know, are not in better hands here. Can't recommend the school more.
And I didn't pay her to say that. Thanks to you.
Hi, my name is Sidra Bell. I am the artistic director of a dance company based in New York City, Sidra Bell Dance New York. I'm also an educator. I work across the country with different universities with dance and choreography. And it's been a long, wild adventure as an artist. It's been incredibly exciting to see over the past 15 years how much there is to get as an artist, how many communities I've been able to interact with. Many biographical details, but the idea for the company came in 2001 when I graduated from Yale University. There was a competition, the Yale Entrepreneurial Society, and they were giving grants to startup businesses. So the idea actually started as a business idea, business model, and we won a grant to start the company. So I produced my first show in a community center in Harlem in the fall of 2001, and the company was born. It's been a long journey of just from the branding perspective to identify what my vision is, and I think a lot of my time at SUNY Purchase really taught me about how to create communities around what I was doing. I found a lot of my core collaborators here at SUNY, my first real dancers that became the image of what the company would be, the movement, vocabulary. I started a festival with some of my MFA cohorts called Reverb Festival that still is in existence. So a lot of my producing chops came here at Purchase and really understanding how to communicate what my idea was, the craft of choreography, learning more about how to really not only have an idea but bring it to full fruition. Since then, I've been continuing to develop that idea, not only as a choreographer, but also how to connect the dots for other generations of dancers. So I spent a lot of time mentoring students and through my workshops, just not only having it be sort of a self-contained idea, but allowing it to infiltrate the larger community of dance. And it's been just so exciting. I'm kind of on the second wind of my career now, with more touring to Europe and Canada and various places around the world. And just that, I never could have imagined in 2001 that I'd still be doing this. It's just thrilling. So thank you, Sue Purchase, and also my parents who are here, who really provide so much artistic counsel. They're both artists as well. So I have a long history in the arts since when I was born, basically. And so there's, I think, this idea that it's not a self-contained act being an artist, but it's really enveloping all these different families of artists that you have along the way. And that's been, I think, how I've sustained so long. Thank you.
Hey guys. So my name is Adrian. I'm a designer and creative director in New York. When I was at Purchase, I was kind of all over the place trying to make ends meet. So the financial stability, I can relate to that. And it's funny how much that actually translates to once you get out in the real world. In a field such as design, it moves at a speed now, based on technology, obviously, that I couldn't even imagine back when I was at school. So weirdly, my own personal experience from Purchase was that all of that jumping back and forth between different disciplines, experiments, projects, I was always helping out, actually at the dance conservatory doing posters for senior shows, and I used to work at CTS doing, there used to be an interactive map back when the Purchase website was built in Flash, and working on that. So doing all of these different things that Purchase lets you do ends up being probably the most valuable part of it. I see it now when I talk to kids, my interns that go to other schools, and they're very sort of, I guess, isolated in their disciplines, and Purchase is kind of unique in that it gives you that chance. After graduation, I took my first internship, and that became my first gig. And after about 3 years, I decided to transition into my own studio, and I've sort of been doing that ever since. So I do a lot of work in concerts. I run an education program. I have a photography school, and I actually also run a DJ school. So if anyone's interested, totally other interesting story. So yeah, pretty much it.
Hey, I'm Santino. So I got a dual degree at Purchase. I graduated in 2011. My dual degree were in arts management as well as music performance. I was a tuba player, and that's actually why I came to this school. I moved here from Hong Kong to study the tuba, and I resonate with you a lot about how Purchase is unique in a way where all these different art disciplines are on one campus. And I was very fortunate, and I was really able to use that as a platform to produce my first show, which took place. I collaborated with choreographer Lauren Camp and dramatic writer, design tech people, and we actually did the show at the dining hall, and we built a circular stage that is right underneath that mezzanine thing, the triangle mezzanine thing. But anyway, so that is the first Mad Art creative show. And since then, Mad Art has been my sandbox in how I think about, as an arts management student, and also after Purchase, I got my master's degree at NYU for performing arts admin. And I think a lot about sustainability in the arts funding, and how does a company get funding beyond its artistic merit, and like what kind of work you should be producing, and how you should be relating to communities, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's what Mad Art Creative does. We do commissions, we do kind of out of the ordinary partnerships with like low-income housing neighborhoods, where we would build the show there and then move the show out and host open rehearsals, whatnot, and really thinking outside the box about how do we give access to people who lack access to theater in a non-traditional way, other than just here are subsidized tickets or whatever. How do we get people to be interested in the arts from not just the product, but from the creative process and all that kind of stuff? And besides that, I freelance as a creative producer and production manager. So again, back to the whole, there are multiple disciplines on this campus kind of thing. All of my projects, in some unplanned way, they're all interdisciplinary projects. And that's kind of the way it goes, I feel like, out there. I'm working with composers, choreographers, theater artists constantly in a project that is, and I became, and thinking back, 5-6 years ago, I was a tuba player. And so now I'm very much the guy in the room who can talk about, think about what dancers need before they go on stage, what theater artists, what a director would want to work on when we finally have some alone time in the theater, and all that kind of stuff. And Purchase is a unique place where you can actually absorb that kind of knowledge, because all that kind of people are within this facility. And I actually don't remember what the original question was.
How you got started.
Yeah, and so how I got started is an internship at Lower Manhattan Cultural Council for River to River Festival, and I started working there, and I still work there. I work there every summer for the festival as a production manager, and that's like a company that has their hands on residency programs. They produce a very, very top-notch festival, site-specific, so it's all kind of weird community partnership that they have to build, and they're also a re-grant company, so that's kind of when I talk about how the arts, what is the ecosystem of you producing your art, and that's why I started working at Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, and that's how I got started.
Thank you.
Hi, hello, my name is Chris Graves. I'm glad he asked about what the question was, because I totally forgot.
Easy to forget.
Yeah, so I graduated from Purchase in 2004 in visual arts with a concentration in photography. And the reason I came to Purchase, I am from New York, so of course it was cheaper than every other school around. I mean, I got into a few of the schools in the city, but they gave me, like, in 2004 or 2000, I think it costs about $28,000 to go to a school in the city. That's just tuition.
Worse now.
Worse now, double probably. And my parents were like, you can either pay and go to these schools and get loans, or we can pay for Purchase. And that's pretty much a big reason why I came to Purchase. And the other reason was I don't think I would have done any work if I was actually in New York City, because it's New York City, and yeah, so, and I really was in love with photography, and this photography program seemed like it would be a perfect fit for me when I didn't know anything about photography. So I came here, and since that was my history of like not having any money at that point, like, because my parents were like, yeah, you can go here. Yeah, anyway, so here I started to do as many freelance jobs as I possibly could, like for my friends' theater programs, like directors that were putting on plays, and like dancers. So I see Nellie here, who it's kind of amazing.
It's amazing.
I haven't seen you in 12 years,
Yeah.
but you were one of the first people I met here. So it's crazy to see you again. And now she's the head of the department. So it's like, anyway, sorry. So I used to photograph a lot of dance performances. That was one of the main freelance jobs I did here for like no money at all, black and white with high ISO film, and then going into darker and developing that film. This was like pre-digital, so it was a little bit more difficult to shoot dance performances. Now it's like, I feel like it would be like a dream to shoot it. We'll have to talk again. So anyhow, that's what I did here to make ends meet with like extra money for like buying stupid shit like sneakers and stuff like that. But then I graduated, moved home for about a year and a half, and focused on keeping a group of photographers and artists that I met here and along the way together. So I started a website named nyfineart.com, and I kind of directed it and put together the website and put together about 6 or 7 group shows in Manhattan, short-run group shows where we would have 15 or 16 people in the gallery, and we'd grow our mailing list. Nothing would ever sell, so I would just go into a continual debt for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. But that led to me having my own gallery in Brooklyn, which I started under my own name, Chris Graves Projects, afterwards. And along with all, well, pretty much, I mean, I don't know what else to say about like purchase. I still speak to many people that I went to school with. I have a publishing company, and I publish people that I went to school with, or people that I also work. All right, I'm just gonna tell you what I do now, and then we'll go back. Sorry, my main job is a studio manager and a collections photographer for the Guggenheim Museum. I also photograph for the Jewish Museum. I also run a publishing company. I do a lot of freelance and commercial-based art photography. I'm a board member for a gallery named Blue Sky in Portland, one of the oldest, like 40 years in photography galleries in the world. I also teach an adjunct class at Parsons, and I also do like portfolio reviews and book fairs around the world. In every single aspect of this, I use people that I know in purchase, like commercial jobs. If I need other photographers, it's always somebody that I knew at purchase or have known from like a friend of a friend that went to purchase. At the Guggenheim, I always hire an intern from purchase, so I try to keep it connected. My mentor is still someone that taught me here at purchase, so I see him every month or two in the city. I can go on and on, but it was great to actually go to purchase. A lot of my friends miss it. I don't actually miss purchase. I loved it while I was here, but life is busy. I don't sleep very much, and I just try to build the name a little bit out there, because people do know purchase in dance world, in the art world. I mean, you can say the name and it means something more than a lot of other big colleges. So that's it. That's it for now.
Before we get the next question, I just was jotting some buzzwords down as you all were speaking, and there were some commonalities. I heard mentorship, I heard internships, I heard skills training and skills building, cross-cultural studies, collaboration, multidisciplinary. Every one of you were talking about that network that you've developed since purchase and during purchase, and freelancing, of course, and gigging. So I think that that's something that they're all experiencing now, and it's good to hear you all sort of underscore that. Maybe we can have the next question.
Yes.
Sako.
Hi, Sako. What are the key elements you found to be most helpful in your artistic, self-branding or marketing promotion? I mean, you a little bit talked about that, in your answer to the first question, but if you can talk more about it.
I guess I'll start because I have a mic. Organization. Giving yourself enough time to actually produce the project that you want to produce. I mean, don't rush a big project. Take your time. I'll say that. I'll pass it on.
So key element in self-branding. So in many ways, it's just starting to do what you want to do, and also make sure you talk about it. And so Mad Art Creative, it's although every year it's really a dance piece, but I specifically say that it's an interdisciplinary company because everything is based on commissions. So I commissioned a new work from a composer to work with a choreographer, and we commissioned an installation artist of sorts to build the set, and so everything is from the initial conceptual stage is already very interdisciplinary, and so that's and I say that to anybody I meet And so even in my freelance career, now working with, so now I'm working with this choreographer, Jonah McCare, and part of the reason that I was hired is because I have video experience as well as working with choreographers and whatnot, and so they know that I do more than just one thing, and in that in a certain sense that is, yeah, just know. Just have a very clear idea of what you want people to perceive you as, I would say.
Well, as a graphic designer, I guess I'm supposed to say that it's, your visual identity and your website and your business card and all that. I actually think that it has much more to do with the person, hence personal branding. Every single job I've ever had has been word of mouth or a referral. I made one website when I first graduated Purchase. I figured out sort of the formula to get the job. Didn't update it again for a solid 6 years, and there's actually, we all sort of joke about it, at least in the motion design world, where if you see a designer who has an up-to-date portfolio, it's because they're not any good and not actually working. So I think it has a lot more to do with, you can get by with not the best logo, not the best whatever. Being a good person that somebody actually wants to work with, organizing, communicating, that is all infinitely more important than anything else. So.
Yeah, as a choreographer, I actually think of myself more as a producer because of the nature of arts funding and dance. I have to wear all those hats and actually create the concept very early in order to get the idea out into space. So saying it out loud is very important, I think, in dance because we tend to be a little bit of a more sort of reclusive art form. So I haven't been shy about allowing my idea to be heard, and that started very early through letter writing when I didn't have access to Facebook in 2001. Writing letters, sending emails and newsletters, and starting to build a really core audience. So I think that our audience is very small but loyal, and I think that that's more important than trying to reach everyone, that there's a sense that you really identify who your audience is and have them follow the work with a real authenticity. So a lot of that is also discipline, I think, and not feeling like you have to be everything for everyone, that there's a specific idea that you have that may just be for a specific audience, and I think that's why our base of fans is strong and they've been following the work for many years. I also love to identify new talent. I have a collaborator in the audience, Umi Akiyoshi, who has been working with me for 6 years now since she was in high school as a photographer. Things like that get me excited to really identify people that have an eye for the medium. So it doesn't have to be the most well-known or experienced person, but you grow with people. So there's a loyalty factor as well. So I keep my collaborators really close to me. And that, I think, also creates an authenticity to the idea that you have, that the photos are in line with the studio work. That's then in line with the language around that work. So it's many different things, but I think loyalty, consistency, discipline, and saying it out loud.
Okay, so self-branding. How should I start this? Well, while you're in school, that's the perfect time to explore and really figure out your niche, what you're best at, what you're not so good at, and working on strengthening your skills. And then when you have to start a career, kind of recognizing what your strengths are and marketing those out to various different people that you think may appreciate your skills. You obviously don't want to publicize on your weaknesses, but just knowing who you are as a person really helps, and just a lot of self-reflecting. And sometimes that's really hard to do, because there may be times where you're thinking alone by yourself and you're like, this is really difficult for me. I feel bad that I'm not good at X, but I'm really good at Y. And you take your strengths and you work on those, and that's what people know you for. So that's my advice to you on self-branding. And then obviously, like what she said, you can't be everything to everyone. So being able to recognize what you're good at and honing in on that is good. But at the same time, you have to have some versatility. Opera singing is a very specific niche. There's a very specific audience that really likes that. And if you're trained classically as a vocalist, you can pretty much sing any genre, really. So opening your opportunities to other forms of singing. For me, it's musical theater. I really like to do musical theater as well as opera. I know a lot of opera singers that are jazz singers. There's a lot of opportunity to sing jazz. So knowing that you shouldn't necessarily box yourself into one type of genre is also helpful.
So I absolutely agree with what you just said. Really knowing your brand is the most important thing for you as an entrepreneur, as an artist, as yourself. For me, I learned that later on after I graduated, I had so many ideas of what I wanted to do that it was overwhelming. So it took a long time for me to really grasp exactly what I wanted to do. And I did dwindle down, like, you know what? It's okay that I can't do graphic design. It's okay that I am not going to be an opera singer. And that was something I actually did try to pursue. But I saw where my strengths were. And that's an important thing to know, is really be positive to yourself and be strong with yourself, with your skills, because that's what you own, that's your brand. As a composer, even with my website, I love the dark sounds. I love the sounds of like just this aura of like unknowingness and all these different tones that like are lyrical yet omniscient. So with my website, for instance, it's a lot of dark colors. It has New York City themes, but it's great skies. I really like to keep that in my music, and actually got me a really cool opportunity to compose for a short film that was called White Privilege Frankenstein. It's won a few awards, and I loved it because I wrote it based off of like all these old films, and actually one of the films I really based it off of was Frankenstein, because they use a lot of different dark sounds from the old days and Nosferatu and all those music, all those images. When it comes to my business side, I manage and help run a record label called 6/8 Records. The woman that actually really started at Singam is right here. She is an artist and she's wonderful. Don't hide. But she wanted to make something for everyone to have a voice to be heard, and that's something that's so important in this industry. And with 6/8 Records, we want to hone that. And the most important thing that we've learned for her as an artist and for the company is to know your look and to know your sound first, and then go from there. And then you can tell a story, and then you can find that story and see who fits into that. What audience are you targeting? Who are you grasping towards? What venues are you grasping towards? Social media, how are you grabbing that? Are you using different pictures? Are you using different colors? So it really is about knowing you, then the look, and then it goes from there. And it's a really fun process. So just own your brand, own yourself. That's what I can say for that.
This is kind of a strange question, I feel like, to answer as a painter about your branding, because you're not necessarily producing anything that's typically a brand. But I think as a painter, it's kind of who you are and what you do also outside of your artistic practice. So I think I would say like being self-disciplined for one, and then also maybe interpersonal relationships. You need to be self-disciplined because no longer are there critiques or deadlines for you to produce something, but more or less the opportunities that emerge are from the work that you have produced. So you always need to be making work and active in the community And like, no one tells you to wake up at 8 a.m. to read for an hour, to go to work for 10 hours, to then like go to the city to an opening. Like there's no guidelines or anyone pushing you to do that, but I think when you work for people who are very motivated, and that's the solution, that you like, you have to be very self-driven to make those decisions. So also, I think Adrian said about all jobs being word of mouth. It's the same for me. I actually like just filled out a resume again for the first time in like 3 years last night, which took me like 2 days to get through because it had been a while since I had done it. And I think it's just very community centric, like the arts in general. It's almost like people crowdfunding instead of crowdfunding for money. Everyone has different jobs for different people, and they're looking for people who they can rely on to do the position, but also be like an enjoyable presence. So I think branding yourself as an artist or a painter would be to just like genuinely be yourself and like show up and do, you know, whatever job position somebody asks you to do, but also like be very invested and dedicated to your own practice.
Great. So, next question. Can you let us know what sacrifices or challenges you face to get where you are now? And maybe what you've done to kind of get past those challenges and sacrifices?
You don't have to go in order this time.
Yeah, you know, whoever wants it.
I don't know. I don't think I'll just go really quickly. I think sacrifices, the biggest sacrifice I made was like sleep and time. To be honest, when I was in school, I would like do installation jobs for 40 hours plus being full-time, and then like be in my studio for 40 hours. So when I was in school, I think being very dedicated to what I wanted to do, and like the sacrifice I would have to make would be like, oh, I'm not going to have too much communication with my friends this week, or you know, I don't have as much free time, or like I need to, even simple things like cooking all your food for the entire weekend. I'm not going to be spending any time at home other than to sleep. I mean, I think it comes in a lot of different ways, or like sacrificing your free day to go to an unpaid internship is like a sacrifice that you make. I don't know if that covers it.
That's good.
Yeah, work on your craft every day. You can sleep later. I say I'll sleep when I'm like 50 years old.
No, you won't.
No, I totally agree with that too. I mean, we had a professor here, Jim McElwain, and he told me once, and it stuck with me forever, was each morning you write your music, and I mean, his whole thing was you write music and then you throw it away. So like that way it's not pressure to compose that piece and to like obsess over it. And I actually try to do that almost every day. It's just write, and I do save it because sometimes I come up with cool ideas and I don't want to forget about it, but I don't make it a stress to write and then make that a project. Like your art is your art. So you want to perfect it, but you want to also enjoy it, and it's supposed to be a fun experience. It's supposed to be an enlightening experience. That was actually one of my biggest challenges, was really, you know, disciplining myself, but also letting myself relax. And that's something that is super important for anybody in this industry, is to find something that really calms you down and relaxes you and just gets you centered, because it's a fast-paced industry, music industry. I mean, I don't want to speak for every single industry, but it's a fast pace. You're working hard, you're doing so many things, and if you're doing multiple projects, working with multiple companies, your brain can only handle so much, your body can handle so much. So to find time to just decompress is the most important thing. And I've learned the hard way, where to the point where I was overtired and I got sick all the time, and I was sad, I was down, and you know, it wasn't worth it. I wasn't really enjoying the process. Another challenge I have is I live on Long Island, and most of my work is in the city, so the train ride is always an interesting one. It's like at least an hour and a half. However, I make that time for myself to decompress, and also to write and to read and just get to know the industry a little bit more, get to know my craft a little bit more, and sometimes even play, I don't know, whatever plays on more 2048 and see if we can get higher and higher and higher. But yeah, you know, there's always sacrifices. There's always challenges facing you. It's just that you have to be ready to commit to those, and you have to be ready to be like, "Hey, mom, let's do this." So that's where I'm going for that.
Actually, I also think the scale of the sacrifice is dependent on the scale of the project. I think, as you know, the theme of today's conversation, the larger the thing that you want to try, it may or may not require bigger sacrifices. Sometimes it's personal relationship, sometimes it's financial, other times it's creative, which depending on what stage you're at, they can all affect you in different ways. You know, sometimes losing the creative vision side of it, you know, kills you much more than being broke. Other times, being really broke doesn't compensate, you know, or negate the other parts of your life. So
With that, sorry to intrude, you know, with financials, like I was working at Starbucks when I was doing a lot of my freelancing and interning, and it wasn't a lot of money, but actually I learned the best way to budget, and that was like the coolest tool I've learned. Especially at 22 when you're like, just got out of college, and you're like, oh man, I just want to go to the bar and just go drinking with my friends and eat and all this stuff. And I look at my bank account and I don't have that money. So you kind of learn how to budget time and finances that way, and it's actually very smart to learn, especially nowadays with student loans, just to really learn how to budget and know when it's okay to say no to certain things and know to put your money aside for projects, and that's an important skill from being broke to learn how to do.
Both of you made really good points. I have to second what she said about taking time for you to just decompress. That's so important, especially from a singer's point of view. A lot of sacrifices I had to make. There'd be times where I'd be invited to parties and, you know, social events, and I'd have to be like, nope, sorry, can't go, because as a singer, you actually do need a lot of rest. You need vocal rest. You need to sleep. Like, I'm one of those people that if I don't sleep at least 7 hours, then there's a problem. So, like, you know, you really need your sleep, your rest, your diet plays a lot into it, how well you're going to perform if you're not healthy. You know, sacrifice in terms of, I love food. I love dairy, I love cheese, ice cream, everything like that. But the night before a big performance or the morning of a big performance, I can't have that, or else it's a disaster. So just that aspect of it. And then finances too. For every artist, you're going to go through a period of your time where finances are really tough. And you're going to have to work jobs that you maybe kind of like or you can't stand, but you need to do it so that you can provide for yourself in your basic needs. And that's just something that every artist does. Whether you have a day job at an office somewhere, or you're teaching lessons, or babysitting, whatever gives you that steady income, you need that. Because then it takes some of the pressure off of, oh, I gotta get this job, I have to get this, you know, performance gig, I have to sell this piece of artwork. You need that, you know, steady income to fall back on.
I think for me, many challenges, but the resistance to change can be really hard. And I think that comes with fear, especially in performing art where you're constantly being evaluated for what you're doing, which is so connected to self. So I constantly have to get up every day with sort of less and less doubt about failing is always hard, getting a bad review or having the sense that not everyone is necessarily on board with your idea. So there's that sense every day that I think you have to constantly rebuild yourself as a performing artist, and to reaffirm your ideas is always just challenging, but I think it's allowed for the most growth in my work. Being a part of projects, like I was part of a film project where I was really working under a director and I was constantly doubting my contribution to the work that we were doing every day, and I would call home and just say, I don't know why I'm in this, or I would feel like, why did they choose me to do this? But I think that those are the moments where you have the biggest learning curves and you come out with a better sense of what process is about. So I think also along with that, the idea that process is everything, that really committing to that process every day and entering with this sort of vulnerability, but also the strength of your ideas has been the biggest challenge for me, because that was something I always struggled with growing up. But I think the more and more that I have those doubtful moments, the stronger I get and the more, I think, daring I get in my work.
Well, I think, yeah. This stand is just, okay. So, I think one of the things that I'm glad I took the time, because I was thinking about sacrifices, and I mean, there's a lot of, I think when you know what you are prioritizing, then whatever that's not on the list of your priorities are kind of the sacrifices, right? But they're sacrifices, but at the same time, you just don't think about it. Like, of course, I'm gonna lose some sleep. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to party, or like just even see friends or whatever. But if you are committed enough, and if you are, if you're clear enough in terms of what you want out of what you want to accomplish every day, then those sacrifices are just, you know, they're whatever in the back burner, whatever that you don't, ultimately you just don't care too much about those sacrifices. And of course there are hard sacrifices, and then, but that also comes with evaluating what you want moving forward, or what you know. Like I said, I came to Purchase to be a tuba player, and I freelanced for a couple of years in the city as a tuba player. And it's a slow process, but I remember very clearly when I recognized that, all right, I'm not satisfied with the creative output as a tuba player, because I don't want to play the music that's in front of me anymore, or do another wedding gig, or whatever, you know, like, and then, and so, okay, then it's about, okay, prioritizing how would I be satisfied with maximizing the kind of creative output I want? You know, what kind of artists do I want to work with? And what kind of work do I want to put out? You know, and then, and sacrifice became, you know, you're always making choices, right? Sacrifice is just a choice that you can't make. And so I think you just get used to that, and you just become very comfortable with the idea of not doing something because you want to accomplish something else.
Hi, my name is Tara. So we're actually going to ask one more question of the panelists from the staff, and then we're going to open it up to questions from you all. In the middle of your tables, there are some starter questions, so if you want to get some ideas, I'm sure all of you have questions that you want to ask as well. But the last question we have for the panelists is, if you have any, just like one piece of final advice, like what's, you know, one thing that you want to make sure that the students leave with today?
Everyone has a different major here, right? Like everyone is doing something pretty much different, and it's hard to know what that is, because I don't know. I forgot all the majors at the school. But I would say that there's probably in your major there's probably some standardized forms, and that sounds really boring. But what I mean by that is, in the art world, there'll be curriculum vitae like CVs, artist statements, project statements, having a website, business cards. Those things are pretty much standard. You need these things to kind of exist in the art worlds, at least in New York. I don't know about, or in America. I don't know about anywhere else. But if you don't have all of those things, then it's very difficult to get your name out there because people do want to know that you have it. It doesn't have to be, and it has to look, and it has to be designed, meaning it doesn't have to be designed like, it doesn't have to be designed by a designer. I'm sorry, but it does have to have a look, an overall look of what you want it to look like. If every piece of paper that you're giving someone has different font, that's a problem. You know, choose a font, use that font all the time. You know, that's what I do with every book that I make. I use the same font. It starts to brand you in that way. For actors and dancers, you need headshots. You need CVs as well. I'm guessing, right? Yeah, so you need the same things, like getting your forms in order so that when there's an application up for a show or a grant or a fellowship or anything like that, you have a document in your Dropbox account where you can take your 6 pieces, like your PDF, 3 PDFs, and you send them in an email, and now you've applied. And that's what, you don't have to think about it anymore, it's just something that you have all the time. I think that's the most important thing. Because you can be, I know terrible artists that have great CVs and get a lot of shows and a lot of money because of it. So I'm just saying, like, those things are nice standards to have.
Sample CVs can be found
So I actually agree with the CV resume thing, even though there's also people on this panel that, you know, can't have careers without it. But that just goes to say, you really just need to know what your industry is. You know, like, so, you mentioned CVs for grants and, you know, and whatnot, and so that's a very specific, you know, that's because, like, we do work that require grants, you know, or we have a project that requires grants, and I have a resume that I update yearly, or almost after every project, just because I don't want anybody to Google me and then see a project that I did 3 years ago, whereas the project I just did is much cooler, you know, and like that kind of, you know, how do you want people to see you and how are you represented? But my piece of advice is also just know what you want to do. Like the industry right now is so in flux, like with technology, with the kind of pieces that are being produced. All these markets are super niche. You know, like you have the opera world, you have the new music world, and in the dance world, you also, you know, you have people. Even each group almost have like a specific aesthetic, right? Like the CPR, Shea Bushwick group, you know, versus like, you know, what Nyla's trying to produce, you know, like there's always what MAP International is trying to produce. Like there are all these companies who are also trying to do, you know, their own specific things or aesthetic language that they're trying to carry through. And understanding where your work is in the industry is, I think, pretty important. And so that, yeah, it's always be retrospective as well as being aware.
Just out of curiosity, how many of you are planning on staying in New York after graduation? Okay. So I have 2, I guess, pieces of advice. One is specific to New York. It's a very cutthroat city across the board. A good mentor of mine once told me that your value is not determined by what's in your bank account. And that's very easy to forget in the city when everyone is trying to push you. They kind of dictate, like, oh, you're not as good of a designer, we're not as good of a photographer, or we'll command 10 times what you get paid. How much you're getting paid should not dictate the quality of what you do. So, step 1. And 2, in that it's a very cutthroat city. You will get defeated over and over and over again. Doesn't really matter. Kind of only matters what you do when you get up again. So that's my last closing thought.
Well, for dancers, choreographers, it's a very challenging ecology in dance right now. It's a changing field, which I think is exciting for your generation. I think Purchase, one of the best things about this institution is that it challenges you to be resilient, and it challenges you to be open-minded, and I always see purchase students as the most tenacious, actually, the ones that I see after graduation or throughout their career here. So I think that you're very well prepared for this changing landscape in dance. Things aren't the same, and I think you have to be ready to forge your own path, to work outside of institutions, actually, to, yes, continue to seek opportunities through those established institutions, but knowing that those are also in flux constantly, and that if you're brave enough to start your own model, then you'll be okay. You'll never fail, that you'll always have your own journey to ride. And I think that that's what's also kept me sustained, is when I haven't gotten those big grants or opportunities, I've made my own programs or models I've produced. So I think it's both important to seek out those things that have been established, but also to be a little anti-establishment.
Wow, so many good points were already made. I guess I'll be brief and I'll just say that being an artist is a huge challenge, but the rewards far outweigh the challenges. And you just need to really be honest with yourself, do a lot of self-reflecting, know who you are as a person. You may have like a certain goal in mind, and you're going to go after that goal and things are going to be great, but then life gives you unexpected turns and twists, and you kind of, what she's saying, have to be resilient and adapt to those changes. So just always keep an open mind. You never know what opportunities may lay in front of you that you didn't think were previously possible before. And to just keep an open mind, stay friends with everyone, don't make any enemies, because it's a very small network of people that are doing what you're doing out there, and it's always good to stay positive and friendly with everyone. And you're going to fail most of the time, but when you have those brief moments of success, just really enjoy them and really soak them in and learn from your failures, because they'll teach you a lot and you'll be able to move on from that.
One of my points was actually the same thing. It is a small world out there. So yes, there's going to be people that you're going to disagree with. There's going to be projects that you're going to hate. There's going to be people who are going to push your buttons. It's you that needs to stay centered and positive and professional. You should not be the person to say, oh, you know what, screw this guy stinks, and then post it on Facebook. And that's another thing. Do not post your life on social media. Please don't do that. People are reading, people can see. So please don't burn bridges that way. I've unfortunately seen some people burn bridges that way. Not Abby, I love Abby.
She's our intern.
Yeah, and we have our intern here, Abby, who's been wonderful. She's been holding the fort for our record label, and I cannot thank her enough. So she's not burning bridges. In fact, she's growing our bridge even farther into there. But yes, do not burn bridges. My second thing is learning does not stop once you graduate. I'm a bassoonist. I still practice as much as I can. I'm a vocalist. I still practice as much as I can. I compose, so obviously still do that. And I manage a record label, so I'm still learning what's going on in the music industry. I'm learning how to market our albums better. I'm learning how to brand and learning how to license and learning all these things. And learning is something that should be continuous. So, as much as you think you know everything, just keep on reading, keep on talking to people, keep on networking. That's the most important thing. Network, network, network. Always do that.
As everyone's talking, I realized that I never actually said what I do. So I'm going to do that really quickly before the questions, and then I'll get to the question about advice. But currently, after doing all the things that I did while I was in school, after graduating, I still kept up with a lot of those. I assist a handful of artists, and that's kind of at their discretion and what they actually need help. So people from David Brooks or Ben Deegan, relatively well-known artists, Brenda Zilmani, whenever somebody actually needs my help. And then I'm also a listings editor for Art Critical, So if you don't know what Artistpreneur is, it's super awesome. It's this online magazine that does a lot of criticism about art, and also there's a list, so if you're not sure what art openings to go see, including performance, dance, whatever, there's a comprehensive list of all the shows in New York City, so it's a lot of spaces, so if you're trying to navigate that, it's a good website. And then I also work for the Ad Reinhardt Foundation, which is in the basement of David Warner's, and all of Ad Reinhardt's like personal library with all his marginalia in it, to be populated on the David Warner website, which has been super exciting. And so I guess to follow up with the advice question is like always remain curious, like always be really self-dedicated, because all those jobs I have are not related to painting, they're related to all the previous jobs that I have done, or like kind of uncomfortably put myself out there to do, like I'm not so sure how to do this thing, but I'm gonna try it, and then gaining different skills in many different areas that are unrelated to painting. And also reading every day. It was like a commitment I made after I graduated, and I've read like 15 books, because there's always the excuse that you don't have enough time, but I just deleted Facebook off my phone, which made it all and so I just read, even if it's like a few pages to a chapter, whatever, I read it every single day, and I think it's a really good way to kind of put yourself outside of your own medium as well. I'm reading a book about like data analytics right now. Is that gonna help me paint? Like I'm not sure, but it might not, but just being more educated. You know, art is like a conversation with the culture and the environment you're currently operating within, so to like just remaining curious and like really hungry for education is important. So like you don't have to strictly stick to what you went and got your degree for, but I think it's more beneficial actually to not do that.
Before we go for your questions, I want to give you guys a great big hand. Advice and you know, we really appreciate your stories, but we want to hear from you guys, so feel free to jump in there, ask some questions. Don't be shy.
What is your biggest fear about getting started?
I think the biggest fear I had was failing, and that has been brought up, and it's such an important thing to think about, because you know, failing doesn't mean that it's over. It means that you learned something. It's a lesson that you learned. But when I graduated, that was my biggest fear, and it actually put me back from doing few certain things. And you know, don't be afraid of failing. Don't be afraid of messing up or sounding off key when you're singing, or giving wrong information. Sometimes that happens. You know, life's all about the journey, so might as well just go for it and enjoy it. Anything else?
Not being able to pay rent. I feel like, yeah. So failing, yeah, like failure in your own craft, failure in your whatever it is you're trying to do, but there's also failure in some very real levels that is like, okay, can't pay rent, can't pay food, you know, all that kind of basic need stuff. But that also goes to like, okay, how do I manage my time and my day so that I can grow while also fulfilling these kind of things? So I heard someone worked at Starbucks before, and I worked at a bakery. You know, like I would work for like half a year. My schedule would be four days out of the week would be work at a bakery from 5:30 a.m. to 1, and then have an internship at like 2 to 6, and I would go and play tuba and gig at night. You know, so that would be my day, and then just how, you know, and then that will just sustain you to do what you want to do, and hopefully you can get out of that as soon as you can. But you know, but it's just how can you manage your time so you can accomplish your goals, kind of thing.
Is this after you graduate?
Yeah, it is right after.
Is there is failure a thing? Like, is that something that happens? I mean, you know, like what is failing? I mean, you're still learning. It doesn't really, if I didn't sell a piece of art in a show, I would not consider that a failure. I don't know, I can't speak for like dance, but if I failed during a performance, I mean, that's still not failure. It's just, you know, something that you have to grow from. So I don't know about this whole, like, there is no failure. Just go out, do some work. Just do work. Keep working to make yourself better at your craft.
That's right, that's what you learn.
I think there's also just from a project management perspective, I think it's always hard to trust your team because I think there's the fear that you won't be listened to, but I think if you really trust the people that are in the room with you, especially if you're working in a dance company or team building in some respect, I think to really allow yourself to listen to what they're saying and to also let go of ego helps the whole operation move more smoothly and more efficiently and with less like doubt about what's happening in the room. So I think trust is the hardest thing to get at the beginning of the project.
Everyone said everything that I
Another question?
As a young choreographer and learning how to compose movement, what would you suggest as in staying true to yourself and in your style? From like receiving all this feedback from your teachers, or like just going around doing all these new choreographers and like receiving all these new styles of movement in your body, how do you suggest staying true to yourself?
This thing about investing that everyone has talked about in studio practice has been essential, especially the farther along that I'm into my career and I'm more of a producer now, to actually go into my sweatpants into the studio, and I think of it as like bowing to the practice and to allow my body to really be there, showing up, someone said. It's so important to dedicate time to play. It's so essential as creatives. So you can't get wrapped up in, and it's hard when you have deadlines and grant applications and comp classes to deliver, you know, and I think that's why Purchase was also great, because it was such this like saturation of doing all the time. But I think that that's also great because it allows you to just drop into an idea, draft it, get rid of it, trash it, hold on to it, film it, do something with it later. There's so much in just doing. And so I just think that staying committed to your practice, especially after graduation, to really find the studio time to get in there and just play, and don't worry if it doesn't work. That's part of the process of drafting ideas. And if you'd be surprised what resonates later, I find myself going back to ideas from like a year ago, which drives my dancers crazy. But this idea of constant invention has been what's been so important to me.
Do you have a question?
How you guys all mentioned something about interdisciplinary. How do you rope that in when you have a very specific craft? So, for example, being a musician, but I still have an art interest and things like that. How can you build a career but still have the interests that kind of go into your career? Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I guess for being a musician and developing your craft, you mean like just like making a career out of your music, or?
Well, I'm trying to build a career as an oboist, but I still have an interest in arts and gaming and design and things like that. So trying to incorporate everything on top of spending so much time practicing.
I think the thing is balancing time, and it's very hard to do. It takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of time to do. What I tried for a long time is scheduling how long I'm going to practice each day, what I'm going to practice. It's like, for instance, there are certain days where I'm like, you know what, I'm just working on scales because I know my brain is focused on developing marketing ideas. So I want to make my brain not as crazy, and I want to just do scales and keep my orchestra okay, keep everything settled, and then once I get to that hour and a half mark, I cut it off. I also use my phone as a timer, so if I'm practicing way too long, I just hit the timer, I close it out, and then I go to the next thing. It takes a long time to get to a point where you find, that's my personal way of doing it. It might not work for you, you have to find the time to balance everything, and that's something that you'll learn as you progress with both aspects of the arts. And it's really cool that you want to do gaming, because actually that's what we're doing our label. We're doing some stuff with gaming and music. It's really just research and practicing and talking to people on the same step of practicing and recording and making sure that you're also in check and that you're eating healthy and doing everything that you can to sleep and rest. So yeah, and when you find your balance, you'll really feel good. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error, and that's okay. But as long as you stay true to what you want to do, that's what's important. And you can't sacrifice that with anything that is not healthy for you, nor for your art. So that's right.
You're also like, this is like the best time to be interested in more than one discipline at the moment. Like, being an oboist and also being curious on all these other things, I assume, like, by nature, you will most likely also be working with composers, with a lot of new music, ensembles and whatnot. And those places like provide a lot of outlet for you to be creative, right? And then also it's about finding the people, like you mentioned, finding the people that that has the same curiosity as you. Like, okay, so gaming and oboe playing. Okay, how can you? Okay, one outlet is like, okay, how can you physically, as a performer, combine gaming and oboe playing, right? Like, are you talking about live scores? Are you talking about your physicality being translated into a visual performance? Are you talking about, like, because all those things are now possible. Like, there's a Maya armband that is all about Bluetooth tracking your movement, and it's also about not only movement, but muscle intensity. So like, if your fingering is this versus fingering is this, like because it's an armband that goes around your forearm, it can tell, and then okay, are you programming with a game designer, software designer, and whatnot, and moving forward with that kind of technology, how do you want to, like, but then after all these explorations and research, those are all just gimmicks, right? What are you actually trying to do? So there are, in terms of interdisciplinary work, you always have to be on the pulse about what is possible and versus what you want to do. And yeah, I've been very fortunate that is exactly what I do right now. And so my Mad Art Creative is currently doing a project on quantum physics. And so we have a partnership with Yale Science Diplomat, which is a group of postgrad, in there's a group of postgrad physicists who are lecturing us as we build the show. And at the same time, Sun House is this percussion development group, and then they have like all these amazing trigger programs that are like to perform electronic music in the most organic way possible on a drum, on an actual drum set, and all that kind of stuff is now exists, and so to explore that is very important, and to know what those boundaries are as well.
You don't have to do everything every day. That's the one thing. You can do something for 3 months and then go back to something else for 6. I don't know how it works with music. Maybe you have to do a little bit of that every day to keep on your game. But I think that you can focus your daily routine on different things per week, per month. It doesn't have to be every single day that you have to do a little bit of everything,
I also don't think there always needs to be a synthesis of everything that you like. I think there's maybe like a broader interest that you would have, maybe like communication or dialogue for me is really important. So it's really important that I'm chose for my artwork, that I write about artwork, that I've been published writing about artwork, or that I come here and talk. So it's not like this whole thing isn't necessarily my artistic practice, but the things that I do fall under those investments. So I think it's okay if you want to game and do whatever else that you do, those don't necessarily have to kind of come together. as one solidified thing. You can find ways to make them productive in your own right, or if like that is what you're interested in and it's not a thing, like pursue it and make the synthesis happen in one way or another.
Following graduation, particularly as a dancer, do you recommend any jobs that would be distracting to your craft and would complement and like stable jobs outside of your craft, but won't be as distracting and help like complement your craft?
Very hard question. I never had to go through that period of working at a restaurant or doing a supplementary job. A lot of that's due to circumstance. I'm always in deep admiration of dancers, and I think dance is singular in the sense that you have to do it every single day as a performer. There's just no way not taking a class every day is an option if you're going towards the elite craft. So it's really essential, I think, this time management thing as a dancer, to really just find one really solid class a day that is maybe not choreographic, but that continues to hone your training, and I think that that's totally doable. With having other jobs, I think I see people working many dance jobs in New York. It's much more of a freelancing scene than ever before, I think. Well, no, I think in other eras too, but I think now it's really essential that you're working with people that allow you to work with many different people. So you're actually kind of crafting your own repertory company situation. So that idea of time management and being able to go from one rehearsal to another rehearsal, it's really essential. I mean, in other practical end, I see people doing work in yoga studios and nannying, and I don't have that sort of hands-on sort of knowledge about what that is to balance that, but I think this, that it's really important to put yourself out there to be able to work with many different projects, you know, also maybe picking up another skill in the arts, admin, photography, film. Almost everyone I work with is a dancer and then also does something else, which I think sustains them. I see people having very successful careers as media artists and, you know, all these other things that you can do in dance. So it's to not be too single-minded and like I have to be in a full-time company. That's not the reality as much now.
Other questions?
I was wondering if you have any book/movie/show recommendations and why?
I'll start. I watch a lot of television. Right now, well, I have to do the work and then I get to sleep after the TV. But watch all the shit you can. If you have time, I mean, there's always Coen Brothers movies, you know, COEN, that's pretty important now. I think they often make classics, so it's kind of nice to get into that. I'll just say that. Watch Coen Brothers movies, that's all I'll say. I can go on forever, so I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, it's like, okay, there's TV that you in some ways I feel like whatever TV you watch, you can always get to the point where you question about the writing, you question about how is this made, you know, why, you know, what is what is HBO trying to accomplish with Westworld, you know, whatever, right? Like in terms of their what they're producing. But in terms of, you know, I'm not sure what your craft is, but then for myself, I remember the Peanut documentary really just blowing my mind. And then and that was right at the time when I was, you know, still very focused on playing the tuba and trying to be a performer, but at the same time also producing and also starting to work with choreographers. And then but yeah, so I would recommend that.
What was that?
The Peanut Bausch documentary. It's called Peanut. And if you can see it in 3D too, that would be amazing. You know, like it starts it starts with Rite of Spring, and that was the first 3D movie where I'm like, wow, I can feel the depth of the stage, and that's exactly why 3D movies should exist, you know? Like, anyway, that was my thing.
I'd probably recommend this movie called The Fall by Tarsim. One of the most beautiful films I've ever seen.
Oh, okay. I love a lot of old classic films. So one of my favorites is Harvey with Jimmy Stewart. I just think it's just a happy, beautiful, well-done movie. I love A Philadelphia Story. As a composer, one of my favorites is The Truman Show. It incorporates Phil Glass and it has such a great soundtrack. It's so grounded and beautiful and just, I don't know, if I ever feel musically stuck, I put that on and I just like go into a different world. And TV shows, I love Parks and Rec and I love Leslie Knows and I Want to Be Leslie.
I guess I would say the book that I mentioned earlier about data analytics, it's called Weapons of Math Destruction, and it talks about like the how on the grid everyone is, and how your searches, what you type in, where you go, the things you purchase. I mean, just, you know, even past that, the way that there are algorithms that determine our future and are unfairly scored against like most minorities or anyone who's oppressed, anyone who doesn't have financial means. Things like that. That's the whole book. It just explains all of these different ways that algorithms actually generate future decisions and unfair decisions in many people's lives. So it's a really fascinating book. It doesn't sound Weapons of Math Destruction, like M-A-T-H.
Yeah.
And it's really, it's a very insightful book, and I think it's just a good way to be, just a good book for general awareness.
Speaking of books, I just also want to say anything by Oliver Sacks.
Yes.
Yeah, anything by Oliver Sacks. And if you want to just read his autobiography, that's great too. And that gives you an overview of everything else that he writes. So, but yeah.
Anybody else? Don't be shy.
Well, we can leave some time for networking and chatting a little bit with the panelists after we close. Once again, thanks everybody. Everything that you're saying, but gotta give you the rest of your life to move on.